The sun rose lazily over the plains of Botswana, casting a golden light on the small tired zoo nestled at the edge of the city. Inside the largest enclosure, a lion lay on the dusty ground, his mane tangled and his amber eyes dull. His name was Simba, and he had once been the pride of the wild until the poachers came, until the cage became his world. But every morning, a man arrived. A ranger named Joseph Mokoena, dressed in khaki and a wide-brimmed hat, his face weathered but warm. Joseph wasn't like the others. While the other keepers tossed meat through the bars and avoided eye contact, Joseph spoke to Simba softly. He cleaned the cage with care. He watched the lion not as a beast, but as a soul. "Don't belong here, do you?" Joseph would say, crouching by the bars. "You're a king, and kings don't live behind fences." Simba would watch him, silent but listening. Over months, an understanding grew. Joseph knew the lion's moods, his rhythms. He knew Simba dreamed of the savannah, because sometimes the lion pressed his nose to the bars and stared at the distant hills with a quiet ache. What Joseph didn't tell anyone was that he had a plan. For a year, he worked on it, studying the routes, bribing the guards, loosening the right locks. He couldn't stand it anymore, the majestic lion wasting away while tourists snapped photos. And one moonless night, Joseph whispered at the bars, "Tonight, Simba, tonight you go home." The lion rose, powerful and silent. The lock clicked open, the gates swung, and together, man and lion moved through the shadows until they reached the edge of the reserve. Joseph stood back. "Go," he urged, waving a trembling hand. "Be free." Simba turned, looking once at the man who had given him back his kingdom, and then he ran into the wild, into the darkness, into a life waiting beyond walls. Joseph stood for a long time under the stars, watching the horizon. Years passed. Simba became a legend. Farmers whispered of a great lion who roamed the outskirts of the villages but never harmed their cattle. Rangers spoke of golden eyes watching from the thickets, and deep in the Okavango, tourists caught fleeting glimpses of a lion whose mane glistened like fire in the sun. Joseph had retired. His back hurt, his hands trembled sometimes, but his eyes remained sharp, always scanning the hills when he sat on his porch. Somewhere out there, he knew, his old friend was living the life he deserved. Then, one rainy morning, a message came. A letter from the Wildlife Authority. It was a routine patrol, they wrote. A jeep overturned. Joseph had been helping rescue a trapped rhino calf when the ground gave way beneath him. He didn't survive. The funeral was scheduled in 3 days at the ranger station near the reserve. A small service, they said. No family left. Only colleagues. But miles away, deep in the bush, a lion lifted his head. He sniffed the wind. His ears flicked at something distant, something not carried by scent, but by instinct, a knowing, a pull, and Simba began to walk. It was not easy. The world of man was not his world. But Simba moved with a strange purpose, crossing rivers swollen with rain, threading through valleys, avoiding the noise of trucks and fences. At night, he paused beneath the stars, gazing up at Orion as if remembering. Villagers spotted him. Some shouted warnings. Others stared in awe as the lion passed without aggression, his mane soaked, his stride steady. Rangers caught tracks on their patrols and radioed sightings. "There's a lion heading toward the station," Unusual behavior doesn't seem hostile. But no one dared intercept, and Simba walked on, past watering holes and abandoned farms, past jackals and hyenas who gave him wide berth, past the old broken road that once led to the zoo. By dawn on the day of the funeral, he stood at the edge of the ranger's station clearing. Hidden by the last stand of acacia trees, he watched as men in uniform gathered around a small wooden coffin draped with a green ranger's flag. A voice spoke words over the casket. Heads bowed, and the lion stepped forward. Gasps rose from the mourners. Someone reached for a rifle, but the station chief raised a hand sharply. No. The lion didn't roar, didn't bare his teeth. He simply walked, slowly, solemnly, until he reached the casket. He sat, lowered his great head until his mane brushed the wood, closed his amber eyes. A silence fell so deep it muffled the birdsong. No one spoke. No one moved. A young ranger whispered, "It's him, the one Joseph always talked about." The lion remained by the coffin through the entire service. When the last hymn faded, when the last handful of dirt was tossed onto the grave, Simba rose. He lifted his head once, scanning the faces, then turned back toward the bush. With slow, powerful steps, he walked away. And as he disappeared into the trees, the wind carried a strange peace over the mourners. In the months that followed, the story spread. A lion at a man's funeral, a lion sitting in mourning, a lion who had traveled miles to say goodbye. Tourists came to the station hoping to see him. Rangers set up cameras but caught only fleeting images. A golden blur among the grasses, a silhouette at the watering hole. And at night, sometimes, the young rangers would gather around the campfire and tell the story again. They'd speak of Joseph Mokowena, the ranger who freed a lion from a cage, and of Simba, the lion who came to honor his friend one last time. But deep in the wild, Simba walked beneath the endless sky, his mane shimmering in moonlight, his path known only to him. And every now and then, he'd pause atop a hill, gazing east toward the station, toward the grave beneath the acacia tree, and he'd rumble a low sound, not a roar, but something softer, a memory, a farewell, a promise